we do have one team in particular that has been doing plenty of winning in this county, and that has been the Miami Hurricanes basketball team. Yeah, I know. Funnily enough, the Miami Hurricanes basketball team, its history hasn't been very prestigious, and I'll talk about it later on during this segment. But let's talk about what's going on right now. The Miami Hurricanes basketball team is 21-5 in Jay Lucas's first year as a head coach. They've won 4 straight games, including an upset at home against number 11 UNC. UNC looks like they're about to fall off a bit since their best player, Caleb Wilson, did fracture his hand. I believe he fractured his hand during this game. He looked fine when he played against us, which kind of speaks to the kind of player he is. Wishing him the best in recovery. But with that said, we beat number 11 UNC, won 4 straight, and we've won 6 out of our last 7 games, including nail biters against North Carolina State on the road, and more recently against Virginia Tech at home. It really looked like after the Clemson and FSU games, which were played before we've won 6 on our last 7 games, that it was going to be a bit of growing pains. But with that being said, we seem to shrug those games off. We did fall by 1 point to Cal in the process, but we're still 3rd in the ACC at the moment, 2.5 games back of the Duke Blue Devils, who are comfortably first place in the conference and right now one of the best teams in the country at number 3, behind Duke and behind the Virginia Cavaliers, who we play this Saturday. So that's going to be an interesting matchup to really shake things up in the ACC. The fact that the Canes are not ranked is kind of ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but it's completely fine. It's completely fine. I'm okay with not being ranked for now. I'm okay with being disrespected. I'm okay with a team like Wisconsin being 18-8 and they're ranked. I'm okay with Louisville being 19-7 and they're ranked somehow higher than we are. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the Alabama Crimson Tide at 19-7 being ranked. It's all good. I'm not gonna be salty. I'm just pointing out things that I feel like are a little bit disorganized. But like I said, this is the best. We're 21-5. Jay Lucas has come in and really, in one season, turned this program around. This is actually the best start for a first-year head coach in Miami Hurricanes history, which is insane because we've played 64 years of Miami Hurricane basketball, and not a single coach in that era had this good of a start. Of course, I want to get into the players that are making this team so much better, and I want to get to that in just a second. But I want to talk about the history of Miami Hurricanes basketball for a second, right? Last year, this team finished 7-24. That is the worst record since the 1993-94 season, when the Miami Hurricanes were in the Big East. Okay, that's how far off we've been from being that bad. Jim Larrañaga, who is probably the best coach in Miami Hurricanes history, you could really sense that the game was passing him by. I can't remember the exact year when he came in, but it was well before we were in the era of NIL, in the era of players getting paid, well before that. Like I said, the worst record since the 93-94 season, 7-24, but Miami overall this decade has been relatively interesting. This decade of basketball has been very up and down. We've had 3 losing seasons in this decade, but we've also had an Elite 8 appearance, and we've also had a Final Four appearance. We all remember that 2023 basketball season where we were in the Final Four. We won the ACC. Really one of the best teams in the entire country. We lost to the eventual champs, Connecticut. So it was a very successful season in the eyes of many. But as we come to find out, that year would be really it. It would really be the end of of everything that was great about the Hurricanes basketball under Jim Larrañaga. The following year, we would end up being under 500. And after that, we had the worst year since 1994. So it's an interesting decade, to say the least. But let me be very clear: the success that we had in from 21 all the way to 23, it was unprecedented. Okay, the Miami Hurricanes in general are not a very prestigious basketball team, right? Those are the Dukes of the world. Those are the North Carolinas of the world, the Virginias of the world, right? Like we're not talking about if we're being honest, we're not the Louisvilles, right? Like we're not a Syracuse. We're not a prestigious basketball team overall. We're just not. We have never been. But with that being said, it changed in 2021. This basketball program took a turn. The program seemed like it was heading a new direction until it wasn't. Prior to that March Madness run, that Elite Eight run in 2022, the deepest Miami had gone was the Sweet 16, which happened 3 times in the 64 years of basketball that this program has had. So that kind of speaks to how this team has overall been focused on one aspect of sports, really, and that was football. Football has been king in this program for a very long time. We never really focused on basketball to the point where I believe from 1971 all the way to 1986, we didn't have a basketball program at all. At all. That's insane to me. And now just diving deeper into this basketball program's history, we've only won our conference 3 times, and I believe the ACC was only twice. We've won our conference regular season 3 times, and then we also had only one conference tourney win, right? We've only won the conference tourney championship once. So this is 64 years of like I said, 64 years of basketball program history, and nothing really to show for it. Not a lot of the seats were always empty. The students didn't really care. Granted, like much like everything in Miami, like you go where it's hot. Okay, you go where it's hot. If the football team's good, you go to those games. The baseball team's good, you probably go to those games. If you go to the basketball games, they were never really that good. So since they were never really that good, nobody went to the games, and I would imagine that discouraged some of the players to come to this school, because you're not going to get a fan base like Duke. You're not going to get a fan base like Virginia or North Carolina. You're not going to get these, or Louisville, right? You're not going to get these passionate fan bases, right? I look at the atmosphere at NC State when we won that game. Like, that's an atmosphere that the Miami Hurricanes wish they had. Now, granted, that's not to say that we have no atmosphere. I thought the atmosphere versus North Carolina was awesome, and I thought the atmosphere versus Virginia Tech was great too. But unfortunately, this is the unfortunate part, the Miami Hurricanes haven't really built a repertoire of trust within the basketball program. But now things have changed. Things have significantly changed, right? This team is hot now. This team in 1 year last year was, like I said, seven wins. We have now doubled that win total to 21. And look, make no mistake about it, we are catching up to the Virginia Cavaliers. We're very close. And this Saturday at 2 p.m. on ESPN2, that's a big game. That's a huge game. It's going to be a very difficult game to win. If we want to catch up to the Duke Blue Devils, we're going to have to win this game. I don't know if we will, because Duke is just otherworldly. They only have, I believe, 2 losses this year, and both of them, I believe, were relatively close losses, right? I mean, the one against North Carolina was relatively close. Their last loss before that, I believe, was in December, and that was by 1. So in their 2 losses, their point differential in those losses is 4. Okay, so this is like easily one of the best teams in the entire country. If we do catch up to them, luckily for us, I do not believe we play Duke in the schedule. So that's something that we should be grateful for. We play Virginia, then we play Florida State. We got to get our get back after losing earlier this year on the road. Then we play Boston College, then we play SMU, and then we play Louisville at home. So we have the remaining schedule. If this team is as good as I think it is, the only loss we should have theoretically is against Virginia. But again, I'll say, like, these last 2 games, we've only beaten NC State by 1. We only beat Virginia Tech by 1. And it's taken some tough efforts to get this win. I want to highlight some of the players, because I think that I'd be doing it justice if I didn't highlight some of the players that have been so incredibly good for us. I'll start with a man who recently dropped 32 points, Trey Donaldson. Had a career-high 32 against Virginia Tech. He was incredible. He currently is top 5 in the ACC in assists. He was electric in that game against Virginia Tech. He was phenomenal. And he was the offense, if we're being completely blunt. 20, I believe almost a third of the points. Yeah, that's pretty much a third of the points that Miami scored in this game was Trey Donaldson, which is incredible when you really think about it. But, I mean, he hasn't really been our leading scorer. Our leading scorer has been Malik Reneau. And Malik Reneau didn't play a lot this past game because he was lingering an injury. This is his career season, so he's probably going to get some looks from the NBA draft. I doubt he's like a first round pick or anything like that, but he's averaging 19 points a game, 6 rebounds, and shooting 56% from the field and 35% from three. He's been really, really good for us. It's very important that he's healthy. I was a little discouraged to see he was a bit banged up in the game against the Virginia Tech Hokies. But, I mean, prior to this game, his 5 games before that, or 6 games before that, he was on a streak of 20. He had 20 points against Stanford in the loss to Cali at 24. Reneau in the win against Boston College, he had 23. In the win against UNC, he had 16, but he added 10 rebounds and 4 assists. And then in a win against NC State, 26 points. So Malik Reneau, you could argue, has been our best player on the team. Another guy that I think needs to be highlighted, Ernest Udeh. The rebounding that this guy has changed a lot of our games. We're one of the best rebounding teams in the ACC. And this guy, Ernest Udeh Jr., is a big reason why that is. He's second in the league in the ACC rebound. So he's been really good, and he's a big part of the success that this Miami Hurricanes team had. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out these players who've been big contributors as well in this team. Shout out to guys like True Washington. He had those big free throws against North Carolina State that ended up winning the game against NC State. And then shout out also to our true freshmen, Shelton Henderson and Dante Allen. They have stepped up as well. Shelton Henderson in particular, it's his freshman year. He's averaging 14 points and 5 rebounds. He's been really good. I believe he leads the team. I believe he's a top 5 in the ACC in field goal percentage. He's at 59%. So he's been really good. It's a shame that he can't get the three-point shot going, and his free throws definitely need work, but he's been great for the Miami Hurricanes as of recently. Overall, I'd say this team is definitely tourney bound. Like, this is a team that definitely can make the tournament. This team is definitely a team that can make some noise down the line in the tournament given their seeding. Last time I checked bracketology, we were the 8th seed, which I'm completely fine with. I think we can get it higher I think it can be a lot higher if we beat teams like Virginia. And if we can beat Virginia, guys, we can win out. I believe that. We'd obviously have to get through the road games against Florida State and SMU. But, I mean, at home against Louisville, who's currently ranked right now, I don't think that's going to stand after their losses recently to SMU. This has been a very successful regular season ACC season for the Miami Hurricanes. And during the tournament, I'm confident, man. I'm really, really confident that we can win this tournament, and we can win overall the ACC. So we're gonna have to get past Duke, and we're definitely gonna have to get past Virginia. But no shame in what Jai Lucas has been able to do in his first year. I can't stress it enough. Last year, 7 wins. Not an ideal season, and then for him next year to bring in some guys, bring in some transfers, to really turn this program around, it speaks to the greatness that he's, I would hope, ready to excel at. And on top of that, one thing about the Miami Hurricanes, they're going to pour money into a program that is going to be successful. So Jai Lucas continues to be successful. Be very ready for the school to get behind him and give him the tools he needs, a.k.a. money, to keep a good squad.